Okay. So hello students, today we are going to do a demo on software as a service. So let's start with it. Okay, so do we have yeah, so this file on the website, you need to type bit.ly/uom_docs, and in this there is a cloud computing folder within which there is an assignments folder. Inside the assignments folder you will find these files, and it's a very useful file, so you should have a look at it. So it's this particular file, useful Linux command. So there are a lot of commands which has been saved into this file, which you might need, but this is the main command which if you remember, when we had installed the REST service, we had ran this command. So when you kind of run this command, you are going to create a folder. There's a folder name. Yeah, see, it says artifact ID is equal to jersey-service. So it is going to basically create that folder. So you need to probably it is not going to copy in the machine, but so let me start my machine. And if you look at the assignment, it says you need to first make sure the machine is ready, and make sure the Javan and Java and Maven is installed. So this is in task number 8. So make sure your task number 8 is done. After that, we are going to install this Java service. So if you want to know how to do task number 8, you need to look at platform as a service demo, which is the previous demo. So where is my machine? So here is my machine. It is starting up. Okay, so the machine has started up, and let me log in. Okay, so once you're logged in, you can open the terminal. I've created a folder James in this. So the way that command is mkdir James, and it will create the James folder or whatever folder you want. So I've created James folder. In this, I basically I can run that command, Maven command. It's not is it there? So essentially we are creating a software on the top of the platform, and we are going to expose that software as a service which you can access over the network. There are a lot of commands I was using, so it's showing me everything. Okay, so this is the maven command which you need to run. So I'm not going to maybe I can run it, but it's going to take time, so I don't want to touch that. So you run this command, it will install the Jersey service, and once the Jersey service is installed, you're creating the Jersey service with a folder Jersey service over here. So this is your folder name, this is the Jersey underscore service. So it's going to, once you run this command, the Jersey service folder is going to get created inside this folder. So if you notice, ls will give you the folder name. So this folder was created based on that command, Jersey underscore service. So in this folder, what all files were created, you can as I said, the Java and Maven should be installed. Okay, so remember that. If you notice from my previous demo, the Java is installed and Maven is installed. Without this two installations, your Jersey service Maven command won't work. So remember that. Now let us go in Jersey service. And what do we have in this? So we have POM file, we have src, we have target, right? So we have already seen this kind of REST service. So it creates basically two files. So your Jersey service is your REST. There's a REST service with a path my resource over here, and if you look at the main.java, it will have the my app path over here. So if you want to access the REST service in my resource.java, the path will be my app / my resource. So by default, you are going to, this get command is going to get called, and you should get this message, got it. So that is how you are going to test whether your software is working. Now one thing you will notice over here, I have I wanted to access this service from the host machine. That is what the assignment is. It tells you, and it says create a host adapter with a static IP address and link it to the virtual machine from your local host machine. Access the website using the IP address and port number. This is an example of software as a service. So what are we saying over here? So let us draw one diagram. So we have a host machine. This is a physical machine, right, on which everything is installed. This is a host machine. Inside this we have our virtual machine manager, which is your hypervisor, right? And that hypervisor name is what? This is a virtual machine manager, VMM, and this is also called hypervisor because we are hypervisor is the actual software which does this. And which software has implemented hypervisor? Oracle VirtualBox. So when you're starting Oracle VirtualBox, essentially you are running a hypervisor, and your Oracle VirtualBox is your virtual machine manager. In this you are creating an infrastructure which is your your virtual machine. So this is where all your virtual machines are created, right? And so this is your guest machine. it is a guest machine on the host machine, and inside this guest machine we installed a guest operating system. So what is your guest OS? For our case it is Ubuntu. On this we created a platform, we installed Java and Maven. Now inside this is what we are building a software. We are creating a software which is our REST service. So here where we are creating our REST service, and that REST service is accessible over the internet using some HTTP address, something like localhost :8080 myapp/myresource. So this is the section we are working on, the yellow part. So remember this. So Java and Maven, this is your PaaS, platform as a service, and this part inside is your SaaS, software as a service, and this part is your IaaS. So we are having different types of services on the cloud. So I just had a sip of tea. Okay, so now what we need to make sure that this service is accessible as a service over the internet. So now over the internet you can say, anywhere outside, or in our case we are saying it should be for our testing purpose we want to test it from the host machine. So this is our host machine, you can say. Let us just fill the host machine with some color. Right, maybe different color. I don't seem to. Okay, let us go with this for now. Now we want to make a connection between the guest machine and the host machine. Okay, so we want to, so the host machine should be able, your host machine should be able to access this link. So for this you will have to, now your host machine may be running on a some IP address something like X, and your Jersey service may be running on IP address Y. So in order for X to access some service running on Y, you have to make sure X and Y are accessible over the network, and that is where your adapters come into place. So in your hypervisor, so you say this is your hypervisor, you can build adapters. And this is where you are going to make the connection through the adapter, and that is how your host machine using the network adapters will be able to access your software, which is exposed as a service through the cloud. So this is what the demo test is. So let's now, once we have understood this, we will now move forward. So just give me a minute. Okay, so let me come back over here, and my machine is running. So now that we have looked into so ideally when you are going to install, you're not going to see this IP address. What you're going to see is what you will see, the code that it generates is localhost. This is what the code will look like initially. So let's so now that we have ran that mvn archetype command, this Jersey service folder will be created. Then you can get inside the Jersey service, you can compile your program. Now that it has compiled, you can run your service. Okay, so your service is running over here. So let's test this service first from the guest machine. So http colon okay, so I have the link over here, http localhost 8080 my app my resource. Let's see whether it works or not. So you see it has worked. Now comes the next part, is as I showed you in the diagram. You know, when you are trying to access the same thing from your host machine, so I go back to my host machine. So on the left hand side, left hand side is your host machine. Inside you know, sorry, where it is, yeah, inside whatever you see, this is your guest machine. So I'm on the outside bar now, so I'm going to click the browser of the host machine. So the IP address which is generated for the virtual machine, what is this, installing your updates, can I start a different browser? In case you want to, you know, when you say localhost, your local host is your current machine. So in this case your local host means your host machine, but inside your virtual machine which is inside this localhost means it's a guest machine. So the context is very different. Localhost is pointing to your local machine. In this case it is the guest machine, and on the host, so if you are on the host machine, this is my host machine, the localhost is actually pointing to, so it will not work here because it is the host machine you're pointing to, not you know, the guest machine. So we have to, this is where networks will come into place. So if you look at IP config, it will give you list of addresses. So my wire now, my Wi-Fi is on, right? And here you will see there is the IP address is 192.168.93.103, which means my host IP address X is 192.168. What is the IP address? 93.103. This is my host address. Now if I go inside my guest machine, okay, why it's not on? Let me go into the wired settings. Okay, I don't know why this has gone off, but we will have a look at it. So here you see when I click that, okay, so basically ENP0S3, this is in network with my host machine. The IP address of guest machine is what? 192.168.93.101. so which means your host machine is 103 and your guest machine is Y, which is 192.168.93.101. so the two machines have two different IP address. So the first thing that you should do is you should see if you can see 101 on your network. So how we are going to do that? Now how this IP addresses were created? It was created using the static host adapter. So if you look at my network settings for clone, I have created a host only Ethernet adapter, a wireless adapter, and a Nat Network Adapter. So three adapters I have created. So first I was testing with host only adapter and there were some issues. So this is the in fact this is what we were asking. I had asked in the question that you need to create this adapter and make the connection, but the problem is there is some security issue due to which you cannot access the particular port, and though you can both of them are connected on the network, you are still not able to access the port, which is port number 8080. No matter what you do, it will not give you access. So I think it's a security issue, and that's why you are prevented from accessing the machines over the port using this particular adapter, host only Ethernet adapter. But this wireless AC adapter and Nat Network Adapter will help you not only connect the machine but also access the ports. So that is what you can you can see. So let me go on my host machine over here. So you already know the host machine. Now what is this IP address? You see down there is another IP set of IP address. This IP address is of your Wi-Fi device. My Wi-Fi device is on, and this particular address 192.168.43.1 is my Wi-Fi mobile phone address, and this IP address 192.168.43.14 is the IP address of my host machine on the Wi-Fi network. So we'll come to this later. So there are three different networks created. in this on my box. So the first network is you're using your simple static host adapter. So once you, so how do you create a host adapter? You can where is it? I've forgotten the options. So let me I don't want to stop the machine now, but we'll look at where where you maybe I'll just stop the machine. Okay, there's so many windows open. So this is my, where is my machine running? This is my machine running. So let me switch this off, because it takes time to switch off and switch on. Okay, so is it off? So yeah, so it's powered off. And settings, network and adapter. So here you can drop down host only, adapter. If you see the advanced settings, I have given allow all, cable connected and desktop. What is adapter 2? Adapter 2 is a bridged adapter, and this is where I have configured my wireless AC using this wireless AC adapter, allow all and everything. And adapter 3 is my Nat Network, which is Nat James. So there are 3 different networks which I have configured on this machine. So where is the diagram? Yeah, so we have a host machine and we have a virtual machine, but we also have a mobile phone on which my internet is on. So when my Wi-Fi is on, both the host machine and virtual machine have been configured to connect to my Wi-Fi. So when this is happening, you create a network between your mobile phone. So between your mobile phone and between your host machine and between your virtual machine. This is one network which is created using your Wi-Fi device. So whenever your Wi-Fi mobile phone is starting up, Wi-Fi is on, it will automatically generate IP addresses. So Wi-Fi on will automatically create IP addresses. So when it creates the IP address, this will be in my case, what is the address? It is this is the Wi-Fi phone address 192.168.43.1. So now I'm getting into networks. Yeah, 192.168.43.1. This is the IP address of the mobile gateway. Through this you are getting the internet. And this machine, what address it has? I think it was 14, right? 192.168.43.14. Let me confirm it again. Yeah, it is 14. And if you want to know what is the address of your virtual machine, go into your virtual machine. Where is my virtual machine? Oh yeah, I've stopped it. Okay, so this is where your adapters are created. So remember, I've created 3 adapters. You can create up to 4 adapters. One is a static only host adapter. So this will create your 192.168.93.101 network. This is your Wi-Fi network, and this is your Nat network. So if you are using Nat network or you're using a bridge adapter, your host machine will be able to access uh, the virtual machine's port address if that port has been open. But through using this adapter you can access the machine but not the port for some reason. So I do not know why, but it does not work. You can access the machine. So let us first look at these three adapters addressing. So remember, what was the noise? we have a static adapter, host only adapter. This is our, we have created, this is a network adapter, and then we have a host machine, and again we have a virtual machine. Again we have created a network over here. So your host machine in this case is getting the address. So what is the address? 192.168.93.101.103. Okay, and what is this address? Virtual machine. You have to go inside the virtual machine. So for that we'll start the virtual machine, and because you have created those three adapters, the IP addresses will be assigned to the three adapters. Now why we are creating a network? Because we want to access the virtual machine from the host machine. So remember this. Right, so you can see the three adapters have been configured on the virtual machine. So let us look at the IP address of each one of them. So if I click on this, the IP address is 192.168.93.101. So let us update that in our diagram. So this is 192.168.93.101, and using the adapter you are able to connect. And as I said, there is a third adapter which we have created. So there is a third network we are creating. And this time we are using a Nat Network Adapter. In this case also the host machine will be connected to the virtual machine using this adapter. And let us look at what are the IP addresses. Where it is. Right, so let's cancel this, and I think it's the third one. Yeah, so if you notice, it has created 192.168.15.1 is a default route, but the IP address is 192.168.15.4. Okay, so many applications. Sometimes it's 15.1. I think it is 15.4, and we have not assigned for the Wi-Fi. I think this is the Wi-Fi ENP038. It is 4340. So you need to put, in case if you want to access your Wi-Fi, you can put the IP address of your Wi-Fi device in the DNS and default route, and you should be able to access your internet. Oh, sorry, what it was? 40. That is a virtual machine. So 192.168.43.40. So here you have your third network. Okay, that is already done. So when you want to access something on the virtual machine, instead in place of localhost, you need to use the IP address. You cannot go to your host machine and say localhost. You need to specify which IP address you are connecting to. So the IP address can be either this 4340 or 93.101 or 15.4. So yeah, so when where is the file? And this is where I was this is my Nat Network address. So if you want to access using the IP address, you need to for some reason you have to make sure the IP address is given here, and then it will access. So I'm going to use 15.4, which is my Nat network. Now how do you for the Nat network, you need to do one more configuration. Is going to file preferences, network, and click the plus sign, and it will create a Nat network. So let me remove this Nat network, and I've created Nat James over here. And later if you look at the setting, 192.168.15.0, and first 24 bit is fixed, and which means the last 8 bit is free for addressing. So this will run from 8 bits, means 0 to 255. So you're creating a network, you're creating IP addresses, you're creating 256 IP addresses using on this network 192.168.15.0. Now one other thing what you need to do is, if you have to access from host machine into virtual machine, you have to configure port forwarding. you will not have direct access. So this is my local local host address is also 127.0.0.1. This is another way of another address which represents local host. So this is your host IP and this is your host port. So 127.0.0.1.80.80. So anybody is accessing this particular IP address and this port, they will be forwarded to 192.168.15.4.80.80 on my guest. So host machine address and this is my guest machine address. So I cannot access directly the guest machine, but port forwarding is what works. And I think it should probably Nat Network. Yeah, Nat Network, you need to do this. For Wi-Fi you can directly access the IP address, but not in case of your Nat Network or static adapters. So you need to have port forwarding rules in your Nat Network, and only then only it will work. Okay, so I hope this has not got complicated for you, but you need to create this Nat network with IP addresses. So now let us go back inside our machine. Where is our machine? Let us go back to our folder. So you need to remember, we have now running this on 192.168.15.4. So I'll go to my Jersey service folder. Oh, it's in James. And I will compile because I've modified the IP address. I don't know why this network is not on. Huh? Should have been on. Huh? This fellow is not on. Okay, why? What is this? This is my Wi-Fi, right? I've configured automatic DHCP, means automatic IP addressing, and DNS is 192.168.43.1. This is my Wi-Fi address. Is it not available? It's there. And I can see it here also. So I'm on my host machine, ARP-A. Let's see what all addresses. So I can see my Wi-Fi address over here from my host machine. I can see 9300. What is 9300? Who is 9300? So let me ping 192.168.15.4. Why network has stopped? So just hold on. Okay, so I have not done any changes, but if you notice, this is if you look into the wired settings, two of the adapters is currently So this is creating a Wi-Fi network. Okay, remember this. Is my mobile phone? That's because some issue with my mobile phone. Okay, anyway, so this is my Nat network. So this address is 192.168.15.4, and so let me go to my host machine. And now if you one of the command which is useful is to know what are the IP addresses of your virtual machine is type hostname -i. So you see there are 3 IP addresses given as per whatever we discussed: 192.168.93.101, 192.168.43.40, and 192.168.15.4. So on this network our service is running, okay, on port number 8080. So you can test this over here inside the virtual machine first. So is it running? Your application Jersey service is not running, so let me start that first. So mvn exec :java. Okay, so if you notice it is running on 192.168.15.4 because of the NAT network configuration. So you can access from the virtual machine first. Will localhost work? No. So localhost does not work. So let's see whether 192.168.15.4. Okay, so from the virtual machine it works. Now let us go back to our host machine, and if you notice this is the IP address which I had used in the NAT network port forwarding rules. So let me just type again and show you. 127.0.0.1 I think it was, no? 880. What is the address? Let me go in the NAT network addressing. Where is file, preferences, network, NAT James, and edit, and what is the port forwarding rule? 127.0.0.1 8080 points to which address? It points to 192.168.15.4 8080, na? Right. So let me go back to my host machine. 127.0.0.1 :8080 / my app / my resource. So you see you got your website access from your host machine. So you are accessing a service which is exposed, software service which is exposed on a virtual machine on the cloud, and you are accessing it from the network. So in this case you are accessing it from your host machine. So that is what this assignment is. There is one more thing you can, if you notice, if you had noticed, there is one more IP address I had configured, 127.0.0.1 8081. I am pointing it to 192.168.93.101 8080, which means this is my static adapter, right? My static adapter, I can access it using the NAT network. So for that, first I need to make sure that this is running on that particular port. So if I change this port now to one, my static adapter port, this is my NAT network, but this one is actually my static adapter port. So let me now this time run my application. Let me stop this over here first. Let me save this. Then let me run the service again. Now it will run on a different IP address. So it is running on, oh, it didn't save. So now that this thing has started. Let me go back. Oh, I need to compile this first, no? Oh, if I change the IP address, then I need to compile first, and then only again the new IP address will be considered. So little tiring and little complicated with networks. So when you're dealing with cloud, you're also dealing with networks, and that's why the knowledge of a network is also important. So now we should take my new IP address. So now I have my new IP address over here, but I cannot access this directly. I need to use NAT network port forwarding rules. So I have to see, if you notice how I have configured my NAT network. So I click on File, Preferences, Network, NAT James, Edit, Port Forwarding. So on my host machine, I can, using this address, my host machine address is 127.0.0.1, and if I access this particular port 8081, it will forward it to which guest operating system? It will forward it to 192.168.93.101, which is this IP address which I've just, where my application is running, right? So if I access this, it will go over here. So this is my host machine address, this is my guest machine address. Okay, so let me now go back to my browser, and so this is my host machine. So 127.0.0.1:8081. Oh, is it running? Yeah, it's running over here. My app / my resource. Why it says localhost? Did I type properly? It's let me first go inside and see, is my application running? First of all, yes, and is running on 101. What is the IP address? Right, so it is running on port number 8080, that is right. right? So let me first test from the virtual machine. This is 93.101.880. I have my resource, so it works over here, right? So this address, it works over here. I can test it again. Right, it works over here. From my host machine, I cannot use this address. I need to use this. Remember this, okay? Oh, it's 8081, no? But where it is going? Some network problem, is it? This will forward. Some issue. This is 100. There's no default gateway over here. It seems like the gateway has changed to 100, or probably. I am not sure. So let me stop this. Let me go. So it works from here. Let me see if I can find anything over here. What is this 93.1? Let's make this 100. I don't know why. Maybe it was 1 earlier. Now I go to my host machine. What is the IP address here? Okay, this is 101. And this is 103. And here I think this looks like an I think something has changed. Okay, I'm getting the reply from here, so it's connecting, but let me this fellow is also running. Port it's accessible, right? Colon 8081, my address was, oh sorry, I need to put 127, right? Okay, maybe I need to where is the network? Nat, let's change this setting and see. 15.4. Maybe this is on the different network and that's why it is not allowing. Yeah, but had I created this on this network, it would have worked, right? I don't know why it is not working. Okay, anyway, 192, let's try this. 93.103.880, which will come over here to 101. Let's make this okay. So what we'll do is we'll do a release of the IP addresses first. So let's release the IP address. Let's renew it now. So remember the command which I gave us, ipconfig space / release. So this will remove all the IP addresses which is assigned to the machine, host machine, and this will reassign. ipconfig / renew. Okay. So this is working now. So this time it's 192.168.93.103.880 my app resource. Okay, so there's some problem, I don't know what. Anyway, so let's at least on the static host adapter there's a lot of issue which I was facing, and but let's see if we can access the same thing on the Wi-Fi network now. Wi-Fi network, as I said, I don't think we require a NAT network. So Wi-Fi network should be, using Wi-Fi network, your host machine should be able to connect to your virtual machine. So let us go ahead and run your application on Wi-Fi network. So for that you go ahead and first change the IP address. And what is the IP address? Host name dash, I first have a look at over here. It's 4340, so that is this particular virtual machine's address. So let us .43.40, right? Yeah, 192.168.43.40. Let's save this. Let's come back over here. Let's compile again. Okay, so first let us test this in the virtual machine. So it works over here. Let us now go to your host machine and see whether it works. So you see it works over here. So Wi-Fi network there is no problem, and Nat network there is no problem, but static host adapter for some reason it does not allow you, and I do not know why, but otherwise the other two networks will work. So mobile Wi-Fi works, then static host adapter does not work for some reason. I thought I made this work, but I do not know why. I don't remember whether I made it worked or not, but right now this part is not working, and this down part Nat network adapter, this IP addresses, this network is working, right, and this network is working, mobile Wi-Fi and Nat network adapter. And static host adapter is you are able to ping each other, but you're not able to access the port. Now one of the commands that maybe you need to make sure port number 8080 is accessible. Okay, so if you look at the Linux commands, I need to run this command. You need to open port number 8080 by if you say HTTP, then port 8080 will be open. If you put if you are running your application and any other port, then you give your port number over here. So this command should be executed on the virtual machine. Sudo ufw, this is firewall, allow HTTP. So port number 8080 will be open due to it. So you can do a test over here. So let's stop this first. Sudo ufw allow. So let me clear the screen. Okay, it's too much of sudo ufw allow space HTTP. So this will allow. So let me give the password. So this has updated the rules. Now if you want to verify the rules, you can go into open a file called where is this IP address rules. Oh my, forgot. Where is the file? Yeah, you can see using the ufw status command. So first so let me go back again. So now if you do sudo ufw, first you need to enable it. Okay, enable the service. So let us go back. Keeps on. So sudo ufw enable, you need to enable it also once you are stored the settings. So you enabling the firewall settings. So firewall is active. If you say sudo ufw status, so here you see 8080 TCP allow anywhere, means from anywhere you can access port number 80 over here, which is, this is your HTTP rule which you have applied. Now if you want to allow port number 8081, so what you would do, sudo ufw allow port number 8081 if your application is running on port number 8081. And if you want to see the whether firewall has opened that port, sudo ufw status. So you see port number 8081 is now open for access. If you don't have these rules, then your port number 8080 won't be accessible no matter what IP address you use. And if you want to delete, then again you can have a look at this, sudo ufw delete #1. So how does this work? So what you do is first you check what is the rule number, sudo ufw status numbered. So now let's say you want to delete rule number 8, so you can say sudo ufw delete #8. Oh, what is the command? Yeah, sudo ufw delete #. Correct, it was, na? Sudo ufw status numbered. So it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, rule number 8 v6. So rule number 4, let me first delete rule number 4. I think delete is 4, is it? Okay, so it's there's no hash, maybe, and you can in the same way proceed with this operation. Yes, so that's how you delete. Now if you look at the status numbered, you see that rule has gone. So now port number 881 on IP v4 will not be used. Now IP v6 also in the same way you can delete. So now the rule has changed to rule number 7. It was earlier 8, now it is 7. So now let me delete and proceed with operation. Yes, and it is deleted. So now if you check the status of the firewall, which ports are open, status numbered. So you see, so this so you need to make sure port number 880 is open. So if you want to open port number 880, what do? You say allow 880. You can also do this. So it is already added, that's why it's skipping. So that's it for this particular demo. It was little the networking part is a little complicated because we are trying. I was trying it for the first time, and but you should also try doing all the networking that I have tried, so that you can if anybody wants to access the virtual machine, at least some level of networking expertise is required, because virtual machine is protected inside the host machine, and it is working in a secured zone. So you see, it's working inside. So to break into an operating system and then bypass it and go to the service is a security threat. So this kind of connections are very protected, and that's why in the cloud, when there are multiple virtual machines running on each hypervisor, and each hypervisor may be running on one host machine, so all this networking, each one virtual machine should be protected from the other virtual machine, and all the virtual machines should be protected even from the host machine. So if there is an attack on your host machine, so if there is an attack over here, let's say on your host machine, the host machine should not be allowed to get inside your virtual machine. So this is the reason why that static host adapter may not be working according to me. It is kind of simply protecting the host machine to attack the virtual machine, but because if anybody has access to your virtual machine directly, then it will be a security threat. So they want to make sure at least from the host machine the attack cannot be made. Okay, so that's it for the demo. It was probably a long demo, I guess. With this we might I'm not sure if I'm going to do a demo on AnyDesk, but I'll try if I have time. But this is all for software as a service. Thank you.